Hello everyone. Today my topic of discussion is the limbic system. I am Dr. Parthasarathy Sinha, a first year PG in the Department of Physiology, Bardhaman Medical College. So let's start. First, we should know something about the limbic system. What is it? The limbic system is a set of brain structures located on both sides of the thalamus. It is a primordial structure which is involved in lower order emotional processing of input from sensory systems and supports a variety of functions including emotion, behavior, motivation, long-term memory, etc. Now some historical aspects of this system. In 1664, Thomas Willis describes the cerebral limbus in his book Cerebral Anatomy. Paul Broca in 1878 defined the limbic lobe as that it is not a simple lobe, but a great lobe as it encompasses several lobes, which prompted him to denote it as a great limbic lobe or grand lobe limbic. James Papage in 1937 described the Papage circuit, and in 1952 Paul MacLean described the limbic system, and he divided the limbic system into three parts: the reptilian complex, the limbic system, and the neocortex. Actually, the word limbic means border in Latin because it refers to a ring of grey matter on the medial aspect of the cerebral hemisphere. Now, these are the two structures of the limbic system depicted in coronal and sagittal planes. Now, introduction. Limbic system is the functional and anatomic system of the interconnected cortical and subcortical structures and the entire neuronal circuitry that controls emotion and behavior and motivational drive. It is an area of intimate processing between the hypothalamus and the cortical lymph nodes. It is associated with emotions, basic survival and socio-sexual behavioral patterns, motivation and learning. This is a simplified diagram of the limbic system showing the limbic gyrus, intralimbic gyrus, and fornix and inner arc. Now, coming to the broad functional divisions of the system. It is divided into two parts: rostral limbic system and caudal limbic system. Rostral limbic system is important for emotion aspects, and caudal limbic system is involved in the memory and visual spatial functions. Rostral limbic system consists of amygdala, septum, orbitofrontal cortex, anterior insula, and anterior cingulate, whereas the caudal limbic system is composed of hippocampus, posterior parahippocampal cortex, and posterior cingulate. Now, so we can see that the components of the limbic system actually consist of the olfactory pathways and the anterior perforative substance, piriform lobe, septal area, amygdala, limbic cortex, hippocampal formation, and the diencephalon element. Now, before going into the actual system, we should discuss about the differences between the limbic lobe versus the limbic system. The limbic lobe actually depicts the cortical areas of the limbic system, which consist of the parahippocampal gyrus, hippocampus, orbitofrontal part, cingulate gyrus, and insula. Whereas the limbic system consists of the limbic lobe along with the nuclei and their connections. Nuclei consists of the amygdala, the septal nuclei, mammillary body, anterior thalamus, and connections include the fornix, medial foramen grundle, tri-terminal mammillary thalamus tract. Now coming to the individual parts. First, the anterior perforated substance. It is a mass of grey matter on either side of the optic chiasma, and it is perforated by the central branch of medial cerebral artery. The piriform lobe is also sometimes called as the olfactory cortex. It is divided into uncus, hymen insulae, and entorhinal cortex. The uncus is the curved portion of the anterior extremity of the hippocampal gyrus. It is a principal region for awareness of olfaction, and a hymosperm lateral olfactory stria terminates in it. The hymen insula is the most medial part of insula. It is the cortical part, and entorhinal cortex is the anterior part of the parahippocampal gyrus. So coming to the septal area, its location is situated in ventral to the corpus callosum. It is composed of two parts, paraterminal gyrus and septum pellucidum. Connection include the olfactory fiber from the medial olfactory stria, and the septal nuclei receive the reciprocal connection from the hippocampus via the pons. The functions, it is also known as the medial olfactory area. Actually, the name is a bit misnomer. It has no relation to the sense of smell, but it is considered as a pleasure zone in animals. Septal nuclei play a reward role in reward and reinforcement along with the nucleus accumbens. Now coming to a very important part, that is the amygdala. There are actually two amount muscles of neurons on either side of the thalamus at the lower end of the hippocampus. The nuclear components are basolateral nuclei, central nuclei, and corticomedial nuclei. The regions of the amygdala can be classified as first the large basolateral region, which provides direct input to the basal ganglia and motor system. Small corticomedial group of nuclei, which is related to the olfactory cortex, especially in lower animals, and the medial and central nuclei, which are connected to the hypothalamus. Now, this algorithm depicts the amygdala inputs. You see that the olfactory system inputs from the olfactory system, temporal lobe, and the brainstem converts to the amygdala into these three nucleus: corticomedial nucleus group, basolateral nucleus group, central nucleus group. Corticomedial nucleus group is associated with the behavioral triggered by the olfactory stimuli. Basolateral nucleus group mediates the emotional responses, whereas the central nucleus, which is attached to the emotional significance to a stimulus. The fibers from the brainstem nucleus to the central nucleus are called the ventral amygdalofugal fibers. Now these are the amygdala outputs. From these three parts, the corticomedial nucleus group, basolateral nucleus group of the central nucleus, the fibers convert to the septal nuclei of the hypothalamus, concerned with the autonomic responses, the limbic association cortex, prefrontal cortex or hippocampal formation, which are concerned with the learning, emotional and emotional significance, and also from the central nucleus, fibers converge to the dorsal motor nerve of 10th nerve, reticular formation, hypothalamus nuclei of the autonomic nervous system, which are concerned with the appetite, regulation of appetite behavior like eating in response to smells. Now coming to the functions of the amygdala. They are actually behavior awareness areas. That is, they make the person's behavioral response appropriate for each occasion. They also relate environmental stimuli to coordinated behavioral autonomic and endocrine responses. Like the responses include like feeding and drinking, fighting behavior, mating and maternal care, or response to the physical and emotional stress. They also have an impact on memory. Like the hippocampus, processes in the amygdala seem to impact memory. However, it is not spatial memory as in the hippocampus, but the semantic division of the episodic autobiographical memory or EAM network. They are also involved in the attentional and emotional processes. Amygdala helps an organism to define a stimulus and therefore respond accordingly. And it is also involved in emotional processes, in particular the ventral hippocampus. Now coming to the limbic cortex. It is situated at the inferior medial aspect of the cerebral hemisphere. Consists of two concentric gyri surrounding the corpus callosum. Broca proposed two parts: the larger outer gyrus called the limbic gyrus and the smaller inner one called the intralimbic gyrus. The limbic gyrus or the limbic lobe consists of isthmus of the cingulate gyrus, parahippocampal gyrus and subcallosal area. Cingulate gyrus, it is located dorsal to the corpus callosum. Connections include three parts. It is heavily interconnected with the association areas of the cerebral cortex. It will receive inputs from the anterior nucleus of the thalamus and the neocortex, somatosensory areas of the cerebral cortex, and it projects to the entorhinal cortex via the cingulum. Function include emotion formation and processing, learning and memory. Then it has a central role in attention, feelings of safety and security have also been attributed to this part. The parahippocampal gyrus. It is located in the medial temporal lobe. It is actually the lower limb of the parahippocampal complex. It includes perirhinal cortex and entorhinal cortex. It has an important role in memory encoding and retrieval. The entorhinal cortex funnels highly processed cortical information to the hippocampal formation and serves as its major output pathway. Now coming to a part called the dentate gyrus. It is located within the fimbriae of the hippocampus and parahippocampal gyrus. Its structure is three layers of the neuron: the molecular layer, the granular layer, and the cortical layer. The granular layer is the most prominent part and contains excitatory granule cells. Major input is from the perforant pathway, from the layer 2 and 3 of the entorhinal cortex. The perforant pathway can be divided into medial perforant pathway and the lateral perforant pathway. It was in this pathway that long-term potentiation was first discovered. Function includes formation of memories and also have a role in depression. Now the hippocampus, something about the anatomy. In cross-section, it resembles a seahorse. It is the inferior medial structure of the parahippocampal formation, and it stretches as a C-shape, as you can see on the figure. The C-shape formation of the corpus callosum. It is divided into several zones of pyramidal cells on the basis of the fiber connection, CA1 to CA4 peaks. This is a trilaminar structure, molecular layer, pyramidal layer, and polymorphic layer. So this algorithm shows the hippocampal circuit. The red are the afferents and the blue are the efferent connections. So you can see the hippocampus receives efferent from the contralateral hippocampus, septal nuclei, and cortex, and efferent from the hippocampus goes to the septal nuclei, mammillary body, and entorhinal cortex. Now there is something called the hippocampus dentate complex. Here also the blue are the efferent and the red are the afferent. So from the dentate gyrus, information passes to the CA3 region, then to the CA1 plus 2 region of the hippocampus, which projects to the parahippocampal gyrus. The functions of the hippocampus, which is role in the two types of memory called the declarative memory, which are concerned with the facts and events, and spatial memory. So spatial memory is a form of memory responsible for the recording of information about one's environmental and spatial orientation. Actually, the dorsal hippocampus was found to be an important component for the generation of new neurons called the adult born granules in adolescence and adulthood. These new neurons, contribute to pattern separation in spatial memory, increasing the firing in cell networks and overall causing stronger memory formation. The hippocampus have been also found to have a huge impact in learning. So, in brief, the roles can be divided into first the learning. So, if there are bilateral lesions in the hippocampus, the person can't learn even the names of persons. Second is the memory. That is a working memory, consolidation of memory, declarative memory functions. There is an evolutionary role, like smell things to eat. It is a role in the decision making for life and death. It helps in the control of corticosteroid production. It also has a significant contribution to understanding spatial relations within the environment. We have already discussed that. So lesions in the hippocampus will lead to anterograde amnesia, and there is no long-term memory establishment. And for treatment purpose, in epilepsy, these lobes are removed. Now coming to the mammillary body. They are located at the ends of the anterior arches of the fornix. They act as a relay for the impulses coming from the amygdala and hippocampi via the mammillothalamic tract to the thalamus. this circuit from the amygdala to the mammillary body and then onto the thalamus is part of the larger Papez circuit. Papez circuit, we will discuss something about the Papez circuit later. The functions include episodic memory and adding the element of smell to the memory. So something about the mammillary tegmental tract. It terminates in the reticular formation of midbrain. They, along with the anterior and dorsomedial nuclei in the thalamus, are involved with the processing of memory, and they are believed to add the element of smell to the memory. Now, coming to the elements of diencephalon, it is also a part of the limbic system. There is three parts: habeneural nucleus, anterior thalamic nucleus, and hypothalamus. Habeneural nucleus, it lies in the habeneural triangle at the root of the pineal body. Anterior thalamic nucleus, efferent coming from the mammillary body and efferent projects to the cingulate gyrus. And hypothalamus we will discuss later. A fact about hypothalamus is that the hypothalamus consists of only 4 cm cube of neural tissue, or it contributes only 0.3% of the total brain matter. Now, the anterior nucleus of thalamus, the efferent connections are from the mammillothalamic tract, cingulate gyrus, and hypothalamus. Efferent connections goes to the cingulate gyrus, hypothalamus, and hypothalamus. And functions include emotional tone, that is attitude or mechanism of formation of recent memory. Now coming to a hypothalamus, it is also an important part. The hypothalamus divides anteroposteriorly into 4 regions. As you can see from this figure, the regions are preoptic, supraoptic or chiasmatic, tuberal or infundibular, and mammillary or the posterior part. The preoptic region adjoins the laminar terminal. The supraoptic part lies above the optic chiasma. The tuberal part includes the infundibulum, tuberous cinerarium, and the mammillary part consists of the mammillary body and the area above it. These are the various nuclei of the hypothalamus. We have already divided the hypothalamus into 4 parts: the preoptic region, the supraoptic region, the tuberal, and the mammillary region. So they are the nucleus of there are various nuclei of the hypothalamus, and they have different functions also. We will discuss that in brief later. Now coming to the functions. Now, stimulation of the posterior and lateral hypothalamus increases the arterial pressure and heart rate, whereas stimulation in the preoptic area often has opposite effect. Secondly, the anterior portion of the hypothalamus, especially the preoptic area, is concerned with the regulation of body temperature. So, an increase in the temperature of the blood flowing through this area increases the activity of temperature sensitive neurons. Now coming to the regulation of body water, it does it in 2 parts. First, by creating the sensation of thirst, which makes the animal or the person drink water, and secondly, by controlling the excretion of water into the urine. An area called the thirst center is located in the lateral hypothalamus, and controlling of the renal excretion of water is vested mainly in the supraoptic nucleus by controlling the release of vasopressin. Stimulation of the paraventricular nuclei causes the neural cells to secrete the hormone oxytocin. Stimulation in the lateral hypothalamus causes thirst and eating, overt rage and fighting. Stimulation in the ventromedial nucleus and surrounding areas mainly causes effects opposite to those caused by lateral hypothalamus stimulation, that is, a sense of satiety, decreased eating and tranquility. Stimulation of the skin periventricular nuclei located immediately adjacent to the third ventricle, or also stimulation of the central gray area of the mesencephalon, that is continuous with this portion of the hypothalamus, usually leads to fear and punishment reaction. Sexual drive can be stimulated from several areas of the hypothalamus, especially the most anterior, most posterior portion of the hypothalamus. So coming to the Papez circuit, or the functional circuitry of the limbic system. Actually, it is called the neural circuit for emotions. In 1937, James Papez discovered this circuit after injecting rabies virus into a cat hippocampus and monitoring its progression through the brain. The function includes the emotion and memory. Emotion, initially we believed that the Parthasarathy was involved in emotions, but there is no further evidence for involvement in emotions. And memory portion, especially episodic and special memory, and also has a role in storing memory. So this is a Parthasarathy circuit. In brief, you can see that the circuit revolves around the hippocampal formation, then to the fornix, then to mammillary bodies, then to the mammillothalamic tract, then to anterior thalamic nucleus, then progress through the cingulum, then the fibers goes to the entorhinal cortex, and again returns to the hippocampal formation. Now higher centers. So in executing complex behavioral activities such as attack or mating, the individual must interact with the external environment. So higher cortical mechanisms are also called into play to connect the limbic system and hypothalamus with the outer world, so that appropriate overt behaviors are manifested. Cortex provides the neural mechanism necessary for implementing the appropriate skeletal muscle activity required to approach or avoid an adversary, participate in sexual activity, or display emotion and expression. Higher cortical levels can reinforce, modify, or suppress basic behavioral responses so that actions can be guided by planning, strategy, and judgment based on an understanding of the situation. Now, something of the roles of the prefrontal cortex. So we have seen that the higher levels of the cortex are also crucial for conscious awareness of the emotional feelings. Higher levels of the cortex, particularly the prefrontal and limbic association areas, are important in conscious learned control of innate behavioral patterns. Prefrontal cortex formulates plans and guides behavior, suppressing the amygdala-induced responses that may be inappropriate for the situation at hand. So something about the neurotransmitter systems in the limbic system. First, the dopamine. It is in the axons from the ventral tegmental area, travels to the medial forebrain bundle and connects with cingulate gyrus, hippocampus, and amygdala. Serotonin present in the projections from the dorsal and median raphe nuclei. It projects diffusely and synapse on limbic structures. Noradrenaline system is present in projections diffusely and connects with the limbic structures. Cholinergic system also projects diffusely and connects with the limbic system. The catecholamines are known transmitters in the region that elicit the highest rate of self-stimulation in animals, equipped with do-it-yourself devices. Drugs of abuse. Many abused drugs act by enhancing the effectiveness of dopamine in the pleasure pathways, like amphetamine stimulates the release of dopamine from dopamine secreting neurons, and cocaine blocks the reuptake of dopamine and synapses. So a functional deficiency of serotonin or norepinephrine or both is implicated in depression. So because serotonin and norepinephrine are synaptic messengers in the limbic regions of the brain involved in pleasure and motivation. There are two types of centers, called the reward centers and the punishment centers. The reward centers run around the course of the medial forebrain bundle, present in the lateral and ventromedial nuclei of the hypothalamus, and some less potent reward centers are present in the septum, the amygdala, certain areas of the thalamus and basal ganglia, and extending downward into the basal tegmentum of the mesencephalus. Now the punishment centers, the central gray area surrounding the acute cilius in the mesencephalon and extending upward into the periventricular zones of the hypothalamus and thalamus. Some less potent punishment centers are found in some locations in the amygdala and hippocampus. So stimulation in the punishment center can frequently inhibit the reward and the pleasure centers completely. There is a phenomenon called rage. It is associated with the punishment centers. Rage is actually sudden and extreme anger, and where the slightest provocation causes an immediate savage attack. It is expected from an animal which is being severely punished. So strong stimulation of the punishment centers of the brain is seen especially in the periventricular zone of the hypothalamus and in the lateral hypothalamus, causes the animal to develop a defense posture, extend its claws, lift its tail, hiss, spit, growl, and develop pile erection with wide open eyes and dilated pupils. This rage phenomenon is held in check mainly by the ventromedial nuclei of the hypothalamus and some portion of the hippocampi and anterior limbic cortex, especially in the anterior cingulate gyri and subcallosal gyri, to suppress the rage phenomenon. Now, placidity and tameness or tranquility and calmness are occur when the reward centers are stimulated. And there is something called the sham rage. Sham rage is a type of violent behavior and violent alternating limb movements which is claimed to occur in the absence of any sort of inner experience of rage. It is found in some cases due to the uninhibited hypothalamic discharge, like in carbon monoxide poisoning and insulin hypoglycemia. Now, lastly, the clinical implications of the limbic system. There are some clinical manifestations of the disorders of the limbic system. Like first is the temporal lobe epilepsy, which is a form of chronic focal epilepsy associated with hippocampal atrophy and gliosis. Then is the limbic encephalitis, which is an inflammatory process involving the hippocampi, amygdala, and less frequently the frontobasal and insular regions of the limbic system and other parts of the brain. Alzheimer's disease is a neurodegenerative changes in the limbic system where amyloid proteins build up in the hippocampus and then cortex degenerates, leading to the amnesia. Kluver-Bucy syndrome. It is a neurobehavioral syndrome associated with bilateral lesions in the medial temporal lobe, particularly the amygdala. Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome. Thiamine deficiency is implied in the pathogenesis of this syndrome, causing anterior gate amnesia and which causes the damage to the mammillary body. Schizophrenia due to the reduced limbic volume and decreased size of hippocampus and thalamic centers, and also the reduced number of GABAergic cells in the cingulate and anterior thalamus. Anxiety disorder may be the result of failure in the anterior cingulate and hippocampus to modulate the activity of the amygdala. So people with obsessive compulsive disorder or OCD often show increased activity in the basal nuclei, in particular the striatum and other frontal lobe areas of the forebrain. Lastly, the autism. Limbic structures are involved in including the cingulate gyrus and amygdala, which mediate the cognitive and affective processes. So this is in short about the limbic system. Thank you for listening to me.